Hi guys, and welcome back. So today's video is going to be a chatty Q&A with you. I asked you guys for a bunch of questions over on Instagram and this is going to be me answering them all today. So lots of things to do with postpartum and just how I'm doing in general and what the first few weeks have been like with two children now that I have two children, which is very exciting and scary to think about. So if you want to get involved in my next Q&A, then you can head over to my Instagram and check that out. Because that's where I asked the questions, where I asked for the questions for this video, and so I'll be doing future Q&As, I think, because it's quite fun to do them. And yeah, so my Instagram handle is @Abigail Porumb. It's the same as my YouTube name, so just go and look at my YouTube name if you don't know how to spell it. And yeah, go and follow me over there, and I'll chat to you guys over there in more detail as well. And so yeah, without further ado, let's get into all of the questions that I had. So the first question that I had was from Wana Bianca 96, and she basically asked for the names, what the names of our kids are. And so I have two children, if you don't know, by the way. My name's Abigail and I have two children called Samuel Peter. My oldest is called Samuel Peter. His middle name is Peter after my dad, and his first name is Samuel because we really love that name, basically, and because Samuel is a biblical name and we are Christians, and so we wanted to choose a biblical name, and we're quite into like fairly traditional solid names, and so we thought Samuel was a fairly traditional solid name, and it means God has heard, which again, we love the meaning of that name. My youngest son is called Noah Philip, Philip with an F for his middle name after my husband. And Noah, again, because we really like that name, it's another biblical name, and it means rest or comfort, which I think's, again, beautiful meanings for the names. So that's the names of my two little ones. And if you've not been here before and you're new, then hi, welcome to the little family. And I really hope you enjoy watching all of my videos. Okay, the next question is from Run Around Audrey, and it says, has it been harder with two babes? How old are they apart? So what's the age gap between the kids? So the age gap between my kids, my oldest Samuel, he is just over 2.5, and Noah is about 5.5 weeks now. So the age gap is pretty much 2.5 years is the age gap, and I quite like the age gap. I think it's a decent age gap. I don't know if I would have, if I could go back in time, I would maybe have had them just a little bit closer together, because I was definitely very ready for another one by the time it came along. I don't think it made it any easier, those extra few months. So maybe I would have had exactly a 2-year age gap if I could go back and do it again. But I do like the age gap between them. It's definitely not easy, but I don't think it would be easy to introduce another one at any kind of time. So yeah, it's a decent age gap, and I think for me personally, I needed at least a 2-year age gap to kind of feel ready to have another baby. So that's the age gap between our two little ones. The first part of the question is, has it been harder with two babies? And the answer to that is definitely yes. Having two babies is much harder than one, in my opinion. I think the transition, this is a question that people quite often ask, what is the transition from 0 babies to having no babies to 1 baby harder than from 1 to 2, which is harder? And personally, I found the transition from having no babies to having 1 baby much easier and smoother than going from 1 to 2 babies. So definitely having 2 babies is much harder. And there's a bunch of reasons for that, which I'm going to come on to later because it's different questions. But yes, to answer that question, it's been much harder with 2 babies. The next question is from Rebecca SG3, and she asks, if restrictions allowed, would you have many visitors in the first couple of weeks or none? So at the time of filming this, or at the time of giving birth to Noah, where I live, it was in complete lockdown, so I wasn't really allowed to have any visitors. The visitors I did have was my parents, because they are in our bubble for childcare for Samuel. So you're allowed to have people in your bubble for childcare, and they look after Samuel quite a bit. So they had met Noah, but that, as of now, that's pretty much the only people that have met Noah. We're coming out, thankfully, of lockdown now, and so we're going back to church very soon, so people will be able to see him there, and we can meet up outside now as well, which we're in Scotland. So the weather is hideous. So, I mean, even going into spring, the weather's not that great, but it is getting nicer. So we'll be able to meet people outside now, and also at church, and going back to a little bit more normality. So thankfully people will be able to meet him now. But I don't know, I'm not 100% sure if that's what the question meant, is what visitors I had. But if the question is, would I have had lots or none if I had basically no restrictions, I probably wouldn't have had lots of visitors, but I also wouldn't have had no visitors. So I would have had my family, probably more of my family would have met him, and some of my friends as well. We wouldn't have had lots of visitors because, again, you're just settling in with a newborn, and I think you don't want to put any extra pressure on yourself to have to go and make tea and coffee for people and be stressed about people visiting when you're also just trying to get used to your newborn. So I would have had close friends and family visit, but I wouldn't necessarily have had loads and loads of people visiting, because I do think the first few weeks of the newborn are kind of stressful anyway. So you want to let yourself kind of get into the way of it before you have put pressure on yourself to have lots of people around. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. I hope that answered your question. The next question is from Kerry Aziz 92, and she asks, did your eldest regress with potty training since the new arrival? So if you haven't seen my other videos, we have been potty training my son for quite a while now. This is a whole kind of other topic, but we basically started potty training last year, just a bit around about this time, maybe about April last year. We started potty training my son, and mainly because we were in lockdown and I thought we wouldn't be in it for that long, so I wanted to get it done when we had a good chunk of time we could do that. And basically, he's still not fully potty trained. He's not potty trained at all at night time. He still wears a nappy at night time and at nap time. And he is pretty good during the day, but I wouldn't say he's fully potty trained yet. And going back, if I'd gone back in time, I probably would have started him off potty training later. I don't think he was necessarily ready this time last year, but I wanted to kind of do it, and I was trying to, and what I'd read was to kind of push them to do it earlier because it's easier, but that wasn't my experience. I don't think he was ready for being potty trained, and so I kind of wish I hadn't potty trained him that early. But the question is, did he regress? So did Samuel regress and go backwards with his potty training? And the answer is actually no, he didn't. He has been the same with his potty training since Noah came along, and I'm really surprised about that. I thought that he would regress. I thought for attention he would go backwards and he would have lots more accidents, but actually he is not. He's been the same as before. He still has accidents, but he'd had some small accidents before Noah came as well. So yeah, he's not regressed at all, which I'm sure you'll be glad to know. The next question is from GC Golby, and she asks, do you ever leak from the opposite breast you're feeding baby from, and if so, any tips? So the answer to that is definitely yes. When my boobs have loads of milk in them, I definitely leak from the opposite breast when I'm feeding Samuel, when I'm feeding Noah. I'm never going to get out of this. I'm going to always call Noah Samuel. So confusing. But yes, I do leak from the opposite breast when feeding the baby. And my tips would be, I always wear a bra at night time, so I don't know if that's a tip in itself. I always wear a bra at night time because that's when my boobs tend to leak, is at night time. And they do during the day as well, I suppose. So I would wear a bra at night time and in the daytime, and you can wear a nursing pad in your bra, and that just soaks up the milk, and then you can dispose of the nursing pad, which that's what you can do. You can also collect the milk as an alternative. You can collect the milk and keep it and then like freeze it and then use it. So you can collect the milk in a Haka pump. I'll go and show you, actually, it's just in that room there. So you can use one of these, and when you're feeding on the other breast, you can put that on the other one and it collects milk, and then you just stick it into a bag or into a bottle and use it to feed them later. But if you don't want to keep the milk, then a nursing pad, like I said, is a good option. And if you're like me, okay, I have both these things, I have both these options, and I still am too lazy. I end up just sticking a muslin cloth in my bra and leaving that. So that's another option if you're really lazy like me. Next question is from Lottie Hobbs, and she asks, have you lost much of the baby weight? Has this birth made you scared for any future ones? So in terms of baby weight, I would say that I have lost some of my baby weight. I haven't lost all of it, but I have lost a decent amount. My body, I'm quite lucky in that my body goes back to normal fairly soon after birth in terms of my stomach going down. My stomach muscles are quite good at going back to normal. And I also know that breastfeeding helps your stomach kind of go back to normal. It makes it much easier. I will say that I did have cramps, quite a few quite harsh cramps after birth for maybe a couple of days, and I think that was partly my body all going back to normal. In terms of the weight, I haven't made a big effort to get rid of my baby weight. I do think that I'm quite fortunate that my body kind of just goes back by itself. But I will say that although I do feel that my stomach's gone back to normal, fairly back to normal, it's not completely back to normal. I definitely have a bit of extra weight. I don't know how much because I don't weigh myself, but I have a bit of extra weight. And I also think my hips have got wider because I think I'm quite close in weight to what I was before, but my jeans that I wore before will not fit at all. So I don't know if my hips have got slightly wider or if I've just put on more weight than I think. So I definitely haven't gone back to normal, and we're definitely living in leggings and looser clothing. And yeah, I'll show you my belly, my postpartum belly, if you want to see it. So here's I have leggings on. So here's it with leggings on. So I've got a little bit of extra weight, but not much. Like, I wasn't that skinny before. I wasn't super skinny before. So there's the weight. So it's a little bit extra at the front here, but like, come on, I wouldn't say that I've got that much extra weight, but I do think somehow my body has changed in shape or some way, and my hips have got wide or something like that. I don't know, because my trousers don't fit. So that's the answer to that question. The second part of the question was, has this birth made you scared for any future ones? And honestly, I haven't really thought about it in great detail in terms of future births, but I did think about it briefly, and I would probably say yes, slightly more scared. So if you don't know and you haven't watched my birth video, I had a really quick breech delivery for my second son, which I was not expecting at all, because my first son took ages to get here. He was very slow, and my waters broke right at the end. It was a completely different experience to Noah, which was fast and was assisted, and it wasn't the best birth. If you want to go and check out my story if you haven't seen it, I'll link it here for you. But it was a fast, very painful birth. I'll say that yes and no, I'm more scared for future births. Yes, because I would not really want to go through that experience again. I don't really want to go through such a highly assisted, quick birth, because it was difficult. But then at the same time, and breech birth as well, because that was much more risky. But then at the same time, I don't think there's necessarily a higher chance of me having another breech birth. I don't think having one breech birth makes it more likely you're going to have another breech birth. So for example, if you have a C-section, that means it's more likely you're going to have a C-section in the future, whereas having one breech birth is just kind of a one-off random potentially. It doesn't mean you're more likely next time to have another breech birth, if that makes sense. But I am scared slightly that my birth would be that fast again, because that was really scary fast. So yeah, I'm scared in terms of the pain. I'm not so scared in terms of having another breech baby, because I don't think that's necessarily likely. But yeah, so slightly more scared, yes, but then I don't know if I'm having another baby or not. So it's not something I'm going to dwell on just now, but it has made me, yeah, a little bit more scared, because Samuel's birth was very different, and I was just not expecting to have a birth like that. In terms of my postpartum recovery in general, my stitches, I had an episiotomy. My stitches have healed pretty well. They don't hurt anymore really. They hurt a little bit, but they're pretty much healed, I would say. They're pretty much healed. They're not 100% painless, but they are not super painful like they were before. I thought at one point that the pain was getting worse. So in week 2, after I had the stitches, it felt worse than in week 1. It was really sore, but then it kind of went by about week 4, I would say. The pain had really gone down massively, but it was really painful for the first 2 or 3 weeks. And now I'm in week 5, and I don't have to like sit down very gingerly or sit or think about it too much. I don't have to take tons of paracetamol and ibuprofen like I was at the start. So I'm very grateful for that. So my stitches feels like they've healed. The first couple of weeks I had a lot of night sweats, which I don't know if everyone gets these, but I definitely get them. It's definitely a hormonal thing. I get lots of night sweats, and thankfully the night sweats have reduced down massively, and they're kind of on their way out. So I'm very thankful for that, because I do not like waking up soaking with sweat every night. That is not a lot of fun. In terms of my postpartum, yeah, that's kind of my biggest updates. I feel pretty much back to normal in most ways. Maybe not hormonally, because I'm slightly more sensitive than usual, but I would say I'm pretty much back to normal physically. In terms of Noah, I'll just give you like an update just now in the middle of this video. In terms of Noah, he is sleeping pretty well, I would say, for a newborn. Yeah, so he wakes up at night. Maybe he wakes up at 10 at night. No, he goes to sleep at maybe 8 or 9. I put him down for the night. Then he'll wake up at 12ish to feed. He'll wake up at 4 to feed, and then he'll wake up at 7 for the day and then to feed at that time. So I think that's pretty good for night time. He's again 2 to 3 hours in the daytime, and he's just starting to wake up for longer periods during the day as well, which, yeah, he's starting to wake up for longer periods during the day, because he was just sleeping the whole day until the last few days, and the last few days he's been much more wakeful. So yeah, and last night I had an amazing sleep night, because he went to sleep at, I gave him a feed at 11, and he went to sleep and didn't wake up until 5 AM, which was amazing. And if you've got a newborn baby, you'll know that that is absolutely amazing for them to sleep that long. So I'm very happy for that. And he's a very, very easy baby. He's not had colic or reflux or any of the scary things. Oh my goodness, that's a bright light. He's not had colic or reflux or anything that would make him cry more. He's not been ill. I'm so happy that so far we've got away with any of these things, because illness makes everything a million times more difficult. If your baby has had any kind of illness when they're little, it's very difficult. And Samuel was ill quite a few times in the first year of his life, and I'm not looking forward to it, because they just cry constantly and it's so hard. So I'm so thankful that we've avoided all of these things so far. And yeah, the only thing maybe that's been a bit annoying was we are breastfeeding, and his latch is not great. Samuel's latch was never great either, so I don't know if it's just because my breast milk is very powerful. So when he latches off, takes his mouth off, my breast milk like literally sprays him in the face. It's so powerful. So I don't know if that's why he's not latching on properly, but because he wasn't latching on properly, he's getting a little blister here, like hurting him very slightly here. So I'm a bit sad about that, and I'm trying to get his latch a little bit better. So basically, if you don't know, a bad latch when you're breastfeeding is that his mouth isn't opening wide enough and it's not in the right position. So, but it's really hard to get him to latch properly now. He's got into the way of just latching like this. His mouth needs to be like this, and it's not wide enough. And so he's getting a little blister here, which, I mean, it's not like a really, really painful blister or anything. It's more just hard skin. But yeah, I'm trying to get him to latch better. So that's been the kind of main annoying thing with him. What have you found the hardest thing to be with 2 children? So, because I can't pick one, I've given you a top 3 of hard things. I was thinking of this earlier, and I'm going to give you my top 3 of things that are difficult with 2 kids, because I can't just pick one, because I think 2 kids is really, really hard, personally. So, the first thing that is difficult, and was very difficult right at the start especially, was preventing Samuel from hurting Noah. So Samuel is a very active child. He likes to move a lot, he likes to throw things a lot, and even when he's not being intentionally harmful, he can hurt you, and a newborn baby he can definitely hurt. So we've had many incidences of Samuel throwing hard wooden toys on the baby, or him hitting or biting Noah, and we're really trying to work through this and give Samuel different ways to we're trying to redirect the behaviour. So one of the ways we've been doing that, for example, with the throwing of hard wooden toys on the baby, is I've been giving him bean bags. So you can throw the bean bags inside. Of course, I don't really want him throwing the bean bags on the baby, but it's not as harmful if he does that one time. So he's been throwing bean bags inside instead of hard wooden toys. So we're trying to redirect the behaviours like that. But that's definitely one of the hardest things in the first few weeks. And it's still quite hard now, is getting him used to not hurting the baby. So, and of course that's one of the most stressful things, because the most important thing is to keep them both safe, and I can't keep Noah safe if I have to be watching. Like I can't be watching Noah like 100% of the time, because I've got other things to do, but at the same time the most important thing is their safety. So I do end up watching Noah, and like I end up watching Samuel like a hawk when he's anywhere near Noah, because I'm just so worried that he's going to throw things at him or hit him. So that's been quite hard, because I've been having to watch a lot of the time. and I can't just put Noah down and leave him. When Samuel was little, I would just put him down in his bouncy chair or on his rug and just leave him and come back, go and do the dishes or whatever and come back. But with Noah, I can't really do that. I need to have him in the baby wrap, which is a good tip, by the way. Get a baby wrap, they're really great. Or I have to have him in a bouncy chair and just watch him very, very carefully. And even then, he still manages to hurt him sometimes. So that's the number one thing that I find it difficult with 2 kids. The second thing I'll say is when they both need you at the same time. So, sorry, my camera just stopped just there. I get so stressed because they both need me at the same time and I want to go attend to both of them at once and I can't. So I just need to accept that I can't go to both of them at once and just lower my expectations of what I can get done with my 2 hands. And so yeah, that's quite stressful. It's when I'm alone with 2 of them and they both start deciding that they want to have a tantrum or start crying. And the third thing that is difficult is just letting go of having a clean and tidy house. So I'm one of these people that quite likes to have a tidy house and at the very least clean house. And I think a lot of people like a clean and a tidy house, but it's very difficult to have these things with a toddler and a baby. And when I had just Samuel, it was okay because I could kind of clean up when he was on his nap time, or I could clean up at the end of the day when he's watching his TV program. But with 2 of them, inevitably, when Samuel's having his nap or he's watching his TV program or whatever, I end up having to deal with Noah. And so the tidying up and the cleaning just doesn't really happen. And so I'm trying to become okay with just having a less clean and tidy house. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that thought. I just need to deal with having a house that is a bit more dirty and a bit more untidy. And just realising that it's okay. It's not going to be forever. It's okay that it's not the cleanest house in the world. I do live here with my 2 children, and so I just need to be aware of that and give myself grace and let myself know that it's okay. But it's much easier said than done because I really do, especially at the end of the day, I really do feel like I like to have a really nice, tidy, clean house at the end of the day. And if I can't get that, I get really stressed. So those are the hardest things that I would say about having 2 kids so far, and just the first few weeks, is stopping Samuel from hurting the little baby. When they both need you at the same time, and letting go of having a clean and tidy house. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there for today. I've almost finished my tea, so that means I need to go and do something useful. But let me know if you like this type of video, guys. Give me a thumbs up and that'll let me know, and I can do more videos like this. I quite enjoy doing this type of video. I just feel like I'm sitting here chatting to you guys and having a little bit of a rest from the craziness that is having 2 children, like I've just been talking about. And so yeah, I've really enjoyed this. So I will see you very soon, guys, in my next video. Bye.